The Altair Arduino has arrived in great shape. It was boxed in a very nice cardboard box with plenty of peanuts in it to protect it. And inside, the kit itself is wrapped in a saran wrap kind of thing here that protects it from scratches. And this is the case that will be used to house the completed project. So it should look very nice. So far I'm impressed. I'm very pleased with the quality. I glanced through the instruction manual and it looks like it's in pretty good shape. So we'll get started here. We'll know a little more about the instruction manual after we get everything ready to go and start following it. It's not a Heathkit kind of a manual, but it still looks to be pretty detailed. And we'll go through it step by step, page by page, till we get down to the very end, get her working a bit, and we have things to comment along the way. We'll sure do it right here. And we'll get going. Here's a better view of the front panel. We've got the saran wrap off now, so by golly, if you take a look at this very closely, it's just about identical, if not identical, to the original Altair 8800 front panel. So we're very pleased with this. Looks very nice, very good work. Silk screen is great on the panel. We're just as happy as a pig in mud. Took off the saran wrap and lifted the front panel out. You can see we've got some peanuts inside here too to protect it. Here's our logo, strip-on, glue-on strip, Altair 8800 computer, which I imagine will go there on the bottom, which looks very nice. And we've got all the parts and the circuit board packed inside here. So we'll continue to unpack. We'll get rid of those peanuts and see what we've got then. Peanuts are removed. You can see the parts in here. Packed very well. They're in little individual little bags. Plastic bags. Front panel switches. LEDs. Connectors, pins, transistors, 1K resistors, a lot of those, 10K resistors, a lot of those too. Here's our cables, the Arduino. These are very, very neat machines, these Arduinos. Okay. Looks good to me. So let's bring the circuit board out. It's right here. Looks like a very high quality double-sided circuit board. So a very nice board. Kind of like the ones I got from China. And what do you want to bet this probably didn't come from China too? See what it says here. Well, this legend on it is Altair Arduino version 1.4. www.altaiarduino.com. That's probably the guy's web address that came up with this. Very nice work. Very nice work. I'm very well pleased so far. Here, let's get a rolling on her. Step 1, according to the instructions, is to install 36 current limiting resistors. Here for the LEDs, the rows of LEDs. And the designer says he started with 150 ohm resistors there to limit the current, but he thought they were a little bit, didn't quite do the job, and the LEDs were too intense and too bright, so he increased that value to 1,000, which would, according to Ohm's law, of course, reduce the current running through the LED, and it would be a little bit dimmer. So I've got 36 resistors all laid out here, 1K resistors, and 1,000 ohms, 1K, and we're going to install those and solder them down and clip the leads, and then we'll come back. Here we soldered every other 1K resistor into the board. The reason we did that is every other one gives us a little more room to install and solder without interfering with each other. And if you look at the back side, we'll see that a little more plainly, I hope. We're going to snip those leads off now. And if we would have stuck all the resistors in, those leads would have been closer together and more of a pain in the butt to solder and clip. So staggering them like that makes it a little easier to put them in and solder them. Our 36 resistors are soldered in for the LED current limiters. So our next step will be the 10K high impedance resistors for the driver transistors. The purpose behind them, I would imagine, is to keep from loading the Arduino output pins more than necessary in order to drive the LEDs. Don't want to drive them directly because even at 20 milliamperes each, that's going to suck too much current. So that's how it's handled. Pretty common way to do it, I guess. Okay, onto the 10K resistor bank. Both rows of resistors are now installed, soldered and leads clipped for the 36 LEDs. Next step will be to put the LED driver transistors in. I would guess they're NPN general purposes. It doesn't really list what the number is in the parts. It just says transistors. That's what I'd guess, like a 2N2222, something like that. Anyway, that'll be the next step. There we have the 36 driver transistors mounted and soldered in. So we're making progress. Show you the back side here. Like the monkey said when he got his tail caught in the fan, it won't be long now. Yep. So just keep plugging away here. See what we come up with in the end. We've soldered a few other miscellaneous parts on now. We're down to the headers for the Arduino that go on the back side of the main circuit board. I did this a little differently than the instructions. I've mounted these things before, and it can be a real bear to line up the, if you get those sockets in there a little crooked, it can be a real bear to line up the board and get it plugged in. So I gently put the headers into the sockets on the board. Then I work the headers on the board into the sockets where they're going to be soldered. Here on the bottom, you can maybe see that. Maybe not, I'm not sure. But that way I'll be assured that they're lined up. I'll do the center pins after I do the outer pins, but this will keep it in alignment for me while I solder it. And I can take the board off, and the Arduino board off the main motherboard. Okay, the headers are all soldered in. Now, get the glare off of there, if we can. Headers are soldered in. The board's fitting perfectly. Still have the center headers to go, but we'll get those. Now we'll lift that board off of there. She should be lined up perfectly. The headers for the Arduino are installed now and perfectly aligned. So all we have to do is plug the Arduino in. The switches are all in now. And next step will be to put the LEDs in. Got all the driver transistors installed. And we get the LEDs in there. We'll just about have it. The LEDs, switches are all in. Front panel is on, laying on there right now to line everything up. It's all looking good. It's all looking good. Should be ready for initial tests now before too long. And maybe we'll have her up and operating before too long. A lot of soldering, but it's relaxing too to listen to the 1812 overture and the cannons going off. And I mean, I tell you, doing a little soldering, soaking in some of those fumes, nothing quite like it. The Arduino's mounted. All the switches are on. LEDs are in. So it's time to run our first test here, see what we got. So we'll do that and see how she shakes out. We plug it in, all the lights are supposed to blink. Then it'll come up with some random lights on after it thinks for a second and resets itself. Okay, we got the flash. Then we got a random pattern. And then it says turn switch 1 on, lower aux 1, which is a spring switch, down and up. And it should run a little program called Kill the Bit. There it goes. I think the deal is you got to hit one of these just as the bit shows up to knock it off. Well, I don't know. Thought you did. Anyway, it's doing something, so I guess it's working. That's good. We know all the LEDs are in there correctly because it flashed them all at the beginning. So far, really good. Just moving right along. An SD card reader is now inserted, reader-writer. I didn't get one with my kit. I sent Craig a message 4 or 5 days ago. Haven't heard anything back yet. I had some of these around from my Chinese supplier, banggood.com, so I just stuck that one in instead of waiting. Haven't heard anything yet. Maybe he's off for Christmas. Anyway, it won't slow us down because we had some in our part stash here. So now the SD card reader writer is installed, the drive I guess I'd call it. And we're ready to put the Bluetooth module in. We just installed the Bluetooth module and we're moving right along. The SD card, reader writer, and the Bluetooth module. The Arduino's finished now and in its case. I got moving pretty fast on the last few steps, so there it is. Now we have to go back and refresh ourselves with the old technology. Haven't run one of these in, I don't know, 40 years maybe. So, need to do a little research now and we'll get back up to speed. Maybe we'll do some videos with her operating some new programs. Great project. A lot of fun.